request to install a 4-foot high H-rail fence.
Okay, this is in the Shearwater Historic District, and it's a pretty straightforward application. It's a newly constructed house. It was approved by y'all 2 years ago. Last year. And the specific request is for a fence, 4 foot tall. It's an H-rail fence. There's some photos of what it would look like in the report. To run along the front property line of the property. And that a fence like that, 4 foot height, is something permitted by the by development code, and also the type of fence that's proposed is similar to others that are in that area which have been approved by y'all in recent years.
Wait, before you keep going, you might go ahead and let's officially have Owen recuse himself as the applicant. Get that on record.
Okay.
You can't review your own stuff.
No, I understand.
So, we just have you can just kind of come down here.
Okay.
I didn't know who that was.
So we'll just have the record reflect that he has recused himself and sat in the audience as an applicant.
Okay.
While we're doing that, I totally forgot before we got into things. We do want to introduce a new member to the Historic Preservation Commission. This Bonnie Monroe down here at the end. She was just recently appointed by the Board of Aldermen, and will be the new member serving.
Good.
With us. So looking forward to having her on the commission.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I'm used to the other ones, having the roll call and doing things first to kind of lead in. But anyway, back to Shearwater. Again, you see the plan on the staff report where it's to be. They're on that street frontage. If you scroll down a little bit more, photo of what in more detail it needs to be. And I think the next page has
Painted white.
photo of what the type of the fence will look like. In this case, it is to be painted the same color as the trim of the house, so it would not be quite like that. But again, it is consistent with height with the fences in the area, and also with what the historic guidelines recommend for the Shearwater district. That's everything I have to say on it. So if you have questions, I'm glad to answer it.
I make a motion to approve the application for a COA for 110A Shearwater Drive for the construction of a fence in accordance with the application.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, John, repeat who made the second.
Okay, so the motion passes, and
Then this will go on to the Board of Aldermen at its meeting next Tuesday evening for approval, and it will be on the consent agenda. So unless you just want to be there, there's not a requirement that you be at the meeting. It's not too likely that there'll be questions about it, but if you do just want to be absolutely sure, so you're welcome to be there. It starts at 6 o'clock in here.
And you can sit in your seat again.
all right, the second item is 317 Lovers Lane. Dennis Cowart, COA, for request for a new 2-story residence.
Okay. Like I said, this is in the Lovers Lane Historic District, and see on the, push it down a little bit, down to the next item, you can see where the property is located. There you go. It's on the, you would say the south side of Lovers Lane with frontage on the bay. Over next door, just next to it, gives you an indication of what it looks like from the street. And as you can see from the site plan, that's the report, the house is towards the rear of the property to provide a better view view of the water. Plan is for it to be brick and hardy plank siding on the house, galvanized metal roof. Then the driveway is the crushed limestone with concrete entry path at the street. The appearance of the house is consistent with the Lovers Lane Historic District requirement guidelines in terms of overall appearance. The main thing I do want to bring to your attention is regarding the proposed fence and the gate, which in this case it's proposed to be a 7-foot tall aluminum picket fence. And
Can you go back?
oh, just we could,
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
because it's hard to see from here, that's all.
Okay. The 7-foot tall aluminum picket fence on the front property line, and then a 4-foot chain link fence along the side lot lines. I just want to bring to your attention, everyone's attention, that the Unified Development Code limits fences within the front yard, 25-foot front yard that is, to 4 feet in height. The material of the fence, picket fence, would be permitted, but the height of it has to be maximum 4 feet within that area. And secondly, that there are some recent amendments to the UDC. The chain link fences are allowed to extend no closer to the front lot line than the front of the dwelling of the adjacent lot. That was a change that the board made just to basically require fences that are visible from the street to be more decorative in appearance rather than something utilitarian like chain link fences. From that point back, it could be chain link that's permitted, but within that front area, it need to be some material other than chain link. That really sums up everything.
All right, so a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, how do you determine, because it's not like it's in the package, what is the location for that fence to be? You described it, but to be on here, what would it be in terms of the point?
You mean the chain link?
Yeah.
We would have to look at the air photo of the adjacent property.
Okay.
And when they apply for their building permit for this, we would have to make a determination at that point of where exactly it would be. But we have to look at the air photos of the adjacent property to make that call.
Okay, so we're not voting on the fence now.
Can't approve the
appearance
fence.
of it, certainly on the front yard fence.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as far as on the side, that would be something, yes, within your purview is to discuss what the
All right,
what the side lot lines would be like.
let's just take it in parts then. So let's take the building itself. Are there any questions on the actual building?
On the house?
Yes.
No.
We'll get to your, just asking for questions right now for the members. Any questions? Okay. All right, so questions on the fence, and let's talk with the front fence to begin with, which would be what they're asking for on the 7-foot. All right, are there questions there?
So it's only 4 feet is what it's not supposed to be higher than 4 feet.
Correct. Within that, basically along that front property line would be the.
And they want 7.
They want 7, and that is greater than what the ordinance allows. Now, they can't have, at least per the development code, they can't have a 7 or 8 foot fence along the side, anywhere from 25 feet back to the rear is permitted. Of course, that would be also
Not chain link.
your approval.
And then not chain link, and
Not chain
dependent
link.
upon the location of the house next to it,
Correct.
which is another thing that's a question, okay?
So the application would have to be amended in order to do anything about the fence, correct? Okay.
We
All right.
necessarily ask Mr. Coward or the property owner about that,
Okay, and then
if you want it.
on the side chain link fence, can we even do anything if we don't know what the location of the house is to even compare it right now?
Well, consider that we don't have a
Aerial.
material of what else it is to be.
That has to be amended too.
Continue that to the next, that, you could continue that part of it to the next month. I mean, certainly, that's not, the fence is not gonna be built as part of the first things I wouldn't think. That's
Okay.
not typically part of the first thing that's built on the property. So that can come up later, and simply take that item independently for a later date.
Okay. All right, and you said that someone wanted to speak or ask questions, or?
She was raising her hand.
I heard somebody mention something about the house.
Okay.
Can we speak about that now?
But maybe you might want to let Dennis.
Yeah, what I'd say about the fence is the fence along the front was the exact same fence that we approved, you guys approved, and that we did at the Lemon property, which is the Weiss's property now. It's the identical fence, identical height. Details, the profile on the finial on the fence is slightly different, but it's the exact same fence that was approved before. So I don't know if we got to jump to a variance suit on that or what.
On the front of the house?
When was that done?
Maybe 2.5, 3 years ago.
Could have been prior to the PDC, possibly. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the current limit right now is 4 feet with a possible variance of 25%. So that would still only be
6.5. 6.
It might be 4, it'd be 5 feet. Yeah. That's the max.
Wait, could we get the conversations to happen to the mic for the recording?
Excuse
The
me.
recording's not
Yeah.
gonna pick up Dennis, so
I'm sorry,
anybody
yeah,
else.
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Dan's gonna,
Yeah.
Mike, we can get all this on the.
You just turn it on at the bottom. I don't think
Yeah,
I
so
turned it
that,
on.
what, the side,
Hang on, Dennis, hold on just a second.
the metal
Yeah,
picket
hold it in.
fence
Hold it.
goes,
It ain't happening.
metal picket fence just goes
There you
along the Lover's Lane portion of the property, and then it steps back to allow a gated entrance there, and then it turns back 25 feet, and then goes to the chain link fence. There's a chain link fence on both sides of the property now.
Actually, there are not, so that's incorrect.
There's
Just
a
wait.
whole portion of it for sure.
Not on ours, not on the three.
Had an argument here.
side, there is-
Okay, well, on the other side, I think for sure there's a.
Plenty of times when we didn't approve something, the
Um,
Board of Aldermen did.
So we can, just take the fence off the table and come back to you guys with some more direction after we've looked at that a little bit more.
Okay.
Come back to old business.
Yeah, come
Yeah.
back as old business, and then you just get approval for the house itself.
Both fences or,
Yeah, I think we gotta look at the whole
okay.
fence thing.
That would make it easier.
Together.
Yep.
Make it easier for you guys so we can move on with the house and then come back to you right away with the fence.
And more importantly, so the issue of what type of fence and how far back and what is the location of the property, or what do we consider the location of the house on the adjacent property, so that we know what we're looking
Yeah,
at.
before it comes back to you, we'll have
Yeah.
Yeah.
much more details about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There, you see, there's a live oak tree where the drive kind of starts to circle around that live oak tree where the cursor is. There's a structure kind of right there about in that location. It's not the house, it's an accessory structure, I think, for the property to the north. I don't know, on the other side, it's more kind of in line with probably the front edge of the drive, I would say there, where it turns into the house. But I'd say for simplicity, let's just pull the fence off the
Excellent.
table.
Okay.
Okay.
Now let the woman say whatever she's got to say.
All right. Anything else on the house?
We have
You wanna-
colors too, if you just to discuss. So for the exterior, that's a painted brick structure. That'll be an off-white color. We're kind of debating between two off-white colors that are very similar. One's a little grayer, one's a little
more taupey than the other, but they're basically off-white with a I'm sorry, this or this as an off-white color. Pretty much a creamy white color for the trim, and then a kind of light sagey green color on the shutters on the house, and a galvanized metal roof.
And the
What color
door,
is the galvanized roof? Is it
It'll
just
galvanize, it's galvanized, that's not, it's
It's
not.
not paint.
and the door is wood.
Yes. So we've got simulated divided light windows on the front, and then we have more glass and more open things to the rear of the house facing the water, just to take advantage of the views and the openness we have there.
And the what? What do I think?
The views out to the water.
That is important.
Yeah.
The water.
That's kind of what the lot's all about.
Yeah, say if
Yeah.
you're building there, you must have a chance of water.
So there's a large covered deck back there.
Yeah, after he finishes.
Yeah. You want to just tell you what they are?
Or I can just take a picture and
Yeah,
email it to you
okay.
so I can have it in the folder.
Sure, okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, anybody else?
I only have one, I'm sorry, and I guess it's up to me to ask a stupid question. On your page 4 of 5, in the drawings, on the front elevation, are these floor-to-ceiling windows and a living area back here, or are these garage doors?
Those are garage doors. It's a front loaded, just because of the limitations we have on the side yard to pull in, straight in. What the owner really wants to do is elevate and have a sacrificial floor at the house, and then,
I know.
even though the land is high.
What's the elevation
Oh.
of the property right now?
Let's let him finish, and then
It's over
you can ask
10
questions.
feet, but still, we're in a different world now in terms of what we need to prepare for. So there's space down there. There's 4-car garage and space down there that can be built out and could be allowed to be built out. I think their intention originally is kind of build out a bathroom and some space and a kind of foyer to get up into the house, and then kind of leave the rest of that unbuilt until a later time, and then have the primary living on the elevated floor above that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Questions or comments? Want to go one at a time? Okay. And name and address, or just a name? Just name. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Emily Stewart, and I'm here representing myself and my two sisters, Ellen and Elizabeth Connor. We are the co-owners of the adjacent property at 319 Lovers Lane. Our grandfather, Donald Connor, former mayor of Ocean Springs, was instrumental in establishing and appointing this commission during his term in office. Therefore, it is extremely important to us that the new proposed home honors our family ties to the land by meeting the established historic guidelines and keeps with the spirit of the original folk Victorian style home that was demolished.
Have to.
I have the following 4 objections to the current COA application, which all reference the historic preservation guidelines. The first is the proposed structure is closer to the bulkhead by approximately 20 feet. The original home was set back approximately 100 feet from the bulkhead, and according to the site plan, this proposed structure is including the porch, is set back 80 feet from the bulkhead. This, along with the proposed pool and surrounding fence, will obstruct use of the water from our home and does not align with the aforementioned guidelines. Number two, the proposed plans do not honor the architecture and design of the original home. If you refer to the application that was submitted when ascertaining the COA for demolition of the original structure, you will note that the proposed new construction description indicated including a wraparound porch as well as a similar street side porch. The plans submitted for the approval today do not include these features, as well as they include many other design elements that do not align with the folk Victorian style of the original home that was demolished. Furthermore, the proposed glass railings on the second floor porch on the water side are not considered historic detail elements or design elements. Number three, the proposed orientation and overall width of the structure will impede the view of the water upon entry to the property. This was maintained before the demolition of the previous house and is also outlined in the Historic Preservation Guidelines. In fact, this land is depicted as the appropriate example within the guidelines. Number four, the proposed location of the pool and the garage does not meet the Historic Preservation Guidelines. The proposed pool is on the water side of the home, which, according to the guidelines, should be avoided. They state that recreational features should be set in the rear of the home, which for waterfront properties is on the street side. The guidelines also state that garages should not be attached to historic homes. This proposed structure has 4 garage doors along the street side of the first floor. In closing, I want to thank you for your time and for allowing me to present our concerns. I hope you will take them into consideration when determining whether to approve the COA request, especially since they are each based on the guidelines of this commission. My sisters and I believe in this commission's goal of ensuring that future generations have the opportunity to enjoy the benefits of Ocean Springs' rich historic architectural heritage. Thank you.
I just have a question about drainage.
Hi, my name's Lee. I have a question about drainage. I live on Lover's Lane, next door to the cottage, used to be next to Mr. Joachim. And questions about the height of the property and then the height of the building and drainage. Those are, I just don't know if those issues have been looked at this point. And that's a concern for these ladies. I haven't talked to them, but it's also a concern for me because I live south of them. And drainage is a big deal, especially when you're on the water, and especially when you have a hurricane, especially if you have lots of rain, just all kinds of especiallys. And I'm all for people who, I don't believe in preventing people from doing certain things to their property. If you pay a lot of taxes, I understand that completely. But I was shocked to see this drive business, that the property's been crowned up. Why would you need to go even higher? It's a privacy issue for me. It's a big privacy. I think the property's been very private for a long time, and my wish is to keep it as private as possible. So that concerns me. I've already planted 10 new giant trees, and I will continue to do more, whatever it takes. So those are issues that I don't know what all the materials are on the house, because it's hard to read these. But I don't want to assume anything, but if it's historical, I guess it's got to be a certain type of wood and no metal, a certain type of, do y'all have a materials guideline at all? Yes or no?
Yes.
So, I don't know what it is. I'm just asking. Craig is a great neighbor. He has been a great neighbor. So I'm not here to pick a fight. And these are very lovely ladies, and they seem to be deeply concerned. And I'm deeply concerned just because of the height and the. If you don't have to have houses under a house, why do it? I don't get it.
You can do
But that's
it.
just me. So, yeah. Thank you.
To address the drainage, there's going to be where the ground is sloping, and to contain the drainage on the site, on the property itself, there will be a retaining wall on both sides of the property to contain all the drainage on this property within itself, with drainage that's collected and drains to the bayou appropriately. As to the height of the house that was there was a 2-story house, and this is a 2-story house, so there's really marginal difference in the height just based on floor dimensions, but the house that was there was a 2-story house also before, so there's really not a material change in terms of the height of the house.
My concern on that is if you put a retaining wall on either side of that property to contain water just for that property, historically water may have drained from other properties, just naturally drain through through that property. And if you put a retaining wall, it's going to back that water up onto the neighbor's property that doesn't have a way to get off.
We're gonna perform a complete drainage plan for the property that'll include the drainage on adjacent properties for that very reason. And because we have water draining into the bayou too, so that'll be something.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a planning issue
Yeah,
and not a
right.
historical
Correct.
issue.
Okay.
Would this be a planning or a historical issue, the fact that the land has been built up so much before building the new construction? And there's already drainage issues.
That would be planning.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay. And then in regards to views of the water, if they want to move the property 20 feet forward and we are in our current space, which we plan on, it's obstructing our views. Okay, so just that's something that really needs to be taken into consideration.
I think that is.
Okay.
Is the swimming pool part, the swimming pool's definitely part of the plan? I forgot about that. Is that happening? I thought you couldn't afford this thing because you had to tear your house down. I don't understand. Now you're building a swimming pool? Is it part of the plan? Yes, no? Is it? Nobody can answer?
Well, we've just now looked at these for the first time, so.
Okay. Well, it looks
I
like
don't
there's a-
see that.
I
There's
don't see a
I don't
swimming
see
pool.
anything on here for the pool.
There's a plan for a pool, whether it's in the initial construction or not. I don't think that's been determined yet, but we wanted to plan for a swimming pool.
How would you do all of that if the whole house takes up the whole lot? I'm just curious.
What do you mean? It's shown on the site plan.
Okay,
Exactly.
that's not a historic preservation item either, and not on our COA. Okay, so we're not going to address that.
So is a swimming pool historical?
No.
Yes or no?
That's not part
It's
of
not a
it.
part of the plan that they've submitted to us.
Okay.
It would have to,
It was in the drawing.
it would have to come back to a future meeting. Anything else done to the property other than the house would have to
Okay.
come
The
back.
plan does show a pool on the water side of it. But as far as the details of that,
Yeah, the location's
Yeah.
on there, but not in the other end.
Okay, it wasn't really clear, the application, so.
Okay, so I have a few questions. And in terms of the first item, proposed location further aft, the location of the building is governed by,
two things. Well, it's governed by the basic setback requirements in the development code, one. Two, it is a part of the consideration of the COA with regard to, is it similar to the existing, the previous house, or is it also maintain the rhythm of setbacks along Lover's Lane, along in this immediate area? In this case, it is, I don't recall exactly how it sits in relation to the previous house, but it is, the property was subdivided into 4 lots. So in that regard, it is within the boundaries of this lot that was created.
It would have been helpful to have like an aerial view of the whole neighborhood, or at least somewhere, so, because we're just looking at a drawing.
Yeah,
We don't know where these other homes are. I don't know how it's impeding on you.
I have the old survey and the new survey. It's the that the house is.
Well, it's just today's, I'm saying it would help if we could just see, like, I mean, everybody's got a drone. You couldn't take a drone shot just so we could see.
On the property, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You can't see from Google
You wouldn't
Earth.
be able to see your house because of the canopy.
Yeah, right now, all you can see from Google Earth is the mounds of dirt, because the property's been built up so much towards the front, towards the bulkhead. But there's a lot of trees, so it's hard to see that. But I do have the old survey and the new survey. You can tell that the house has been substantially.
They're not required.
In fact, how many feet have you?
The new owner is not required to build a house that looks like the one that was torn down years ago. I mean, it's not
The
anywhere.
cross conversation is not gonna show up
Yeah.
in the minutes, so we appreciate, keep the conversation with the commission, please. Thank you.
Okay.
We're just trying to pull it away from the existing live oaks. If you see where there's a live oak there, and there's a live oak there, in order to get the, we're pulling it back. So I don't know exactly where it was. The existing house was in that same general location. This is, the front of it is forward. The back of it probably is about 12 feet further back than where it was.
Okay. I do have pictures of the old house, where it was with the oak tree,
Which, that's also included in their certificate for, their application where they were trying to get it.
The demolition.
demolished.
And this is a lot of new information that's coming up tonight. I mean, it's obviously it's up to y'all as the commission to either recommend approval, recommend denial. You can defer it to the next month and to allow the information that they've presented to be presented to you. Also maybe for the owners, the architects, other parties to get together themselves and discuss some of these issues. There's a lot of details that are involved in it. So that's kind of that would be the options.
Question for you, though. My understanding is we approve finishes and product, not necessarily site plans and where these things are going, correct?
To some extent, you do have, because in terms of siting, you do have that discretion.
No, I mean site meaning where the home is going to be. That's not something that we vote on. We vote on what paint they're using, the woods they're using. Let me finish,
Yeah,
please.
he's saying, it is it can be a part of what is considered is the placement of the house on the property.
It's noted in the guidelines, the sewer preservation guidelines, to maintain the existing rhythm of the established.
12 feet isn't that big of a deal when you got
12 feet from the bulkhead.
I think it does. All the
it's set
houses are
back
set
of 12
back
feet
from
more
water.
than
More,
the house
yeah.
that was there, I think. But the property is,
Feet, we're talking feet from where it was.
All right, so we're losing control here, so let me ask a few questions. So for the next meeting, because I think we will make a motion here, but I think we're pretty much all in concurrence. Make sure we have the issue answered in terms of proposed location and whether or not we can see for the other property, since obviously we can't make a determination if we can't see that. The issue of architecture and that there's some justification that on the COA for demolishment that we've stated something in there, and make sure we can answer that question, that we didn't lay
I don't think.
any
it was.
restrictions. I can't see that we laid some restrictions because I don't remember us ever agreeing a demolition that would say you had to do this on the following house. But if you could verify that, that would be good so that we could take that out of question. The issue of orientation and view of water, that's the first time I've ever heard that someone says the water view is considered the front of the house. So whether or not that's really something we follow as part of the historic district, if you could answer that question for us so we can take that out of the way. And then that number, I guess the other portion, and if that previous property was already a two-story property, then that would be good to know already. And then two is, or next would be the issue of the pool being not an issue that we're going to discuss here, or if it is going to be an issue, that we either table it or move it to a different meeting, since I don't think you're ready for that, and we also need to figure out what we're going to do with the fence issue also.
And
Can you
it would be helpful, if you have those things written down,
I do, yeah.
so if you could just make a motion to accept those as exhibits, and that way we would have them in the record and we
Okay.
can respond to them specifically instead of assuming we understood everything.
So make sure to table this
Yeah,
and
you can
answer.
email it, and if
answer.
you have photos, just email them afterwards, so if y'all can make a motion to accept her.
Okay, and then the other, does anyone else have any other questions? Did you have anything else?
No, I was just going to make a motion to table this until we receive that documentation into evidence and place it as part of this. We would receive additional documentation as requested that we're going to need, and especially as applies to the demolition. And we move this all to the next meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so obviously it's not going to be a Tuesday's meeting.
Correct, it will not be. We come back to y'all. Do you have the date of the next ACT meeting? Look that up, please.
That would be September 14th.
Okay. Thursday.
Second Thursday in the month of September.
Okay, thank you. The next item. 303 Front Breach, Mike and Julia Lane, COA to request adding covered sections of porch to match the existing
Okay.
porch.
Yeah, this property is the corner of Martin and Front Beach. It faces Front Beach, has its garage side on the Martin Avenue side. And the specific proposal for this one is going to go to the next screen of that. Next page.
Yes.
That's a blank page in there for some reason. Okay. Yeah, okay. Or to get you the Martin would be over on the left side of the screen. Front beach is to the south, so this is kind of visually oriented, like you would see the screen. And the plans are for the porch area there in that eastern side of the building to cover over an additional area over their deck with extension of the metal roof of the existing metal roof of the house, and also to some additional columns there on that, just where it says existing house on that area there.
Like that. Just
the materials is the
extend the
same
roof.
as the existing roof and the existing column. Basically, would mimic what's there already, was to extend the roofing out over some open deck area.
I make a motion to approve the application for a COA for 303 Front Beach Drive for an addition of a roof cover on sections of the rear porch, as plans of which are part of the application.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, this will be on next Tuesday's Board of Alderman agenda.
All right, the next item is 1007 Iberville Drive, Marcus Thomas, COA request for a new 6-unit hotel and swimming pool.
You see that property, it's in the regional commercial zoning district, which does permit the proposed use of a hotel. You may recall this is the old historic building that the owners had intended. Their goal was to renovate it, and they actually came to y'all.
Was this the one that was like 3 buildings put together and they?
Exactly.
Oh, I remember this one.
It
Yeah.
actually fell down.
Yeah.
It was moved here from another location. If I
Yeah.
recall correctly. I think after they started doing some demolition and looking into it, and realized that it was just
Not savable. Yeah, I remember this.
falling apart. It was not something that could actually put back together. So, brings us up to today with the plan. Scroll on down for basically 2 buildings. One's larger than the other one. One to be the main house, and also a smaller.
That's kind of
additional units on that eastern side of the property, with a trellis and sidewalk joined in between them, and a future pool in the backyard. You see the materials there are highlighted on that color scheme there, and see one of the issues coming into siting, actually, of this property is that typically the historic guidelines prefer that the buildings be located up close to the street, which is more consistent with the most historic areas. However, in this case, both the nearest properties on Iberville, on the north side of Iberville, have similar setbacks with the parking in the front and the building located behind that. Plus, consideration is that this is approximately the location of where the former building was. It was set back further towards the rear of the property rather than the front. So from that standpoint, the siding is consistent with the area, and the building. And that really is, kind of summarizes what there are some photos of examples of what the idea for the house, new construction would look like, and the pool too, and other aspects of it.
All right.
And that's about it.
I'll mark this time.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick question. It says 6 units. How do you count 6? Are they
Up and down.
Yeah, you have 4 in the 2-story next door, and there's actually 2, and could be 2 in the main house. That's subject to if we do that.
So possibly that would be part of the building permit fees. They would have to have the adequate access, fire protection, so forth for that.
I was going to say, like, how are they going to get in and out of there? Because that's a tough little corner right there.
For a lockout room, so I don't know if you're probably familiar with that, where you have 2 access doors, and one would take you upstairs, but if not accessed, it would be just like flowing through a regular home, going through a hallway, more so with a door.
I meant more like
Parking.
vehicles.
Oh, parking.
How they're going to?
Oh,
That's PayPros, right? That's in front of that green roof.
We have a parking
Yeah.
site to handle the rooms.
Yeah, they have 6 parking spaces.
We'll actually even put a handicap parking spot on the property too, but we do have 6 parking spots.
And they would get to it from Washington?
No, from Iberville. Yeah.
So they have to pull off.
Very similar to the parking lot next to it, how that would access.
So
Get the mic, sorry. Sorry, Carolyn, keep me sure. I should know this. I'm listening to everybody. Yeah, so the parking spots are 6, and they would be in the front, and that would be the access. The parking lot where the writing is, there's actually probably a 40-space parking lot. I believe it's owned. Is that owned by the city?
No, it's the church's property.
Yeah.
I think there's
I thought with the Marble Springs.
Yeah, Marble Springs.
Oh, okay.
Marble Springs, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the city's parking lot.
Yeah.
It's actually an open parking lot.
That's right.
That the church uses. Because Marble Springs is right at the bottom.
And they block it off. I've heard people complaining because you can't get your golf carts through there.
Yeah.
So,
Ocean Springs.
so I have another question then. Since this is considered business also, it's just the outside that we're really concerned about in terms of historic, because they're going to be guided by the building code for whatever's safe, blah, blah, blah. On that.
Exactly.
So whether it's 6 units or 4 units or whatever, that's really not our concern.
No,
Okay.
that's why I did not emphasize that in the report.
Okay.
So
the exterior of it and the siding of it.
Gotcha.
And the interior layout will be between
Yes.
Marcus and the building official.
Gotcha.
So the Cedar Shake is just showing us the design, not
Right.
the.
Yeah, the idea for the big main home was, the larger home, is to put the house that we wanted to refurbish in the beginning. And like y'all said, it was actually neat because it was actually 4 or 5 cottages that had a 12-foot hallway. We wondered why the hallway was 12 foot, but what it was is somebody came
And
put
they
a
closed
roof
it.
over all the cottages. And we didn't, and
Whoa.
not count the addition in the back and some other things, but in the unlevel floors. But that's why we kind of came back with a little bit bigger home to give the property the feel of the house that was there. And that's where the Cedar Shake comes from.
Mm-hmm. I'm partial.
And then the building next to it was just a standard cottage that you see throughout Ocean Springs on Dewey, Government Street, and just Cleveland and LaFontaine. That's just pretty much a similar home that you would see in Ocean Springs.
I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a 2-story hotel consisting of 2 buildings with a swimming pool on 1007 Iberville Drive.
And I'll-
All in favor?
Aye.
And that was Owen, you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys, y'all have a good evening.
It's
Me
a
too.
good idea to come up with after
After
your issues earlier.
We wanted the house, and it became a life safety issue. We even tried to save it after, we brought the.
I remember when you were presenting all the issues that you had found, and as you're peeling back what you found, I'm like,
There's a lot
wow.
of termites on
Yeah.
Iberville.
A lot
I
of
really,
termites.
really like Iberville a lot.
We preserved some of the wood, and we worked with the city, we can't use it obviously structurally, but we put it back in.
That's what Troutman's did with the one that they took down. They just want to keep some of it in
We'll
there.
have some,
Yeah.
hopefully it doesn't rot, but it's
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot to do
petrified.
with termites, haven't you?
I had fun with termites. I've done a couple big termite
We're in
rehabs here
Mississippi,
lately.
man.
Oh, I know.
Ocean Springs has got a lot of activity.
Yeah.
No, I know.
I don't know who has a good termite bot. Terminex was on one, Red was on the other.
Yep.
And they failed. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good seeing y'all.
Bye.
Next item is approval of minutes for June 15th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for the Thursday, June 15th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the final,
I make
Oh.
a motion to adjourn.
Before that, I just wanted to get one item into the minutes, to just let you know that, on 706 Porter Avenue, which is the Moon Pie Cottage, the little cottage in the rear of that was destroyed, or not destroyed, but heavily damaged by fire some years ago. The building official did approve, at the request of the owner, the demolition of that accessory building because it was, he determined it to be an unsafe condition. So he, under his authority to do that, he approved its demolition. So I just wanted to get that in the, so we have that in the record. That's it.
let's go ahead and adjourn. Making a motion.
It's been a,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I got another question now that we're off the record, to go back to that one that was,
The live stream is still going, let me make sure.
okay.
Now you can say, quite frankly.
Look, that's what I'm doing outside. Look at that bird.
See your bird?
No, some lady was sitting outside in a golf cart. Look at
Beautiful.
She's very small, actually. She's 23 years old.
And it just,
So cool.
I enjoyed being here tonight. As you all know, Amanda had resigned some months ago, and we had another employee, Dawn, who also got a better job offer and was going to be here tonight, but left early. So we have been, again, without assistance, so we appreciate any patience.
Yeah, we appreciate both.
Yes, thank you,
Vicki
Patty,
and
and thank
Peggy.
you for
Thank
helping.
you.
That's great. Hopefully, we will have someone next month which I just looked at the calendar and realized I'm gonna be out of town, so
Oh, that's right, okay, well,
I'm actually taking a vacation.
Mhm.
The world may end.